Parvana's Journey, Chapter 16. Dear Shazia, we're back on the road. It almost feels like we never left. Maybe Green Valley was just a dream. I should stop dreaming. All my dreams turn into garbage. As hard as it was before, it seems harder this time. It's harder to sleep on the bare ground after months of sleeping on a mattress. It's harder to be hungry after months of eating every day. And it's harder to spend the days wandering after having a home again. I hope you are living somewhere wonderful. You will have to have a truly spectacular life to make up for the waste mine has become. Layla didn't want to leave the clearing. She kept saying her mother would come back and not find her. She made me leave a note for her mother. I'm glad Layla can't read much because I had to put in the note that I have no idea where we are going. Hassan cries and cries and cries. I felt sad for him at first. Now I just hate the noise. As if he knew what she was writing, Hassan let out an extra loud wail. Parvana threw down her notebook. "Shut up!" she yelled. "We've tried to help you and we can't, so stop crying." "He doesn't understand you," Asif said, taking the baby onto his lap. "He got used to eating and he's angry at us for not feeding him." Parvana hated that Asif was behaving better than she was. She picked up her notebook and put it back in her shoulder bag. Then she noticed that Layla was crying again, too. "Do you want a reading lesson?" Parvana asked her gently. "My father used to give me lessons when we took breaks." Layla shook her head and wiped away some of the tears that were rolling down her cheeks. "I should have gone to grandmother," she said. "You should have let me go." Parvana tried to hug the little girl, but Layla pulled out of her grasp. Layla cried quietly, not loud like Hassan, but Parvana was just as tired of hearing it. She walked away and sat down with her back to them. She had no idea what to do. A row of tanks rolled by in the distance, and 2 planes flew in the sky above her, although she didn't see any bombs falling from them. Parvana didn't pay them any attention. Tanks were normal. Bombs were normal. Why couldn't eating be normal? They had salvaged what they could after the house was bombed. There was a bit of rice spilled on the ground. They picked it out of the dirt grain by grain. There wasn't enough water to cook the rice and no cook pot, so the children had to chew the rice kernels raw. The food and water lasted them for a few days. Then it ran out. That was 2 days ago. It was longer for Hassan because he couldn't chew raw rice. Their only blanket was the blanket shawl Asif had been wearing around his shoulders when the bomb hit. That, plus Parvana's shoulder bag, was all they had. Hassan had no change of clothing, and already he stank again. Parvana carried him most of the time. He wanted to be crawling, so he kicked and fussed whenever he was carried. He stank, so Parvana stank. Her once beautiful light blue clothes were now a stinking mess. "We're worse off than we were before," Parvana said to the air. To top it off, she was dressed in girl clothes. Whatever she did now, she'd have to do it as a girl. A girl who was getting to be too old to be uncovered in public, according to the Taliban. She didn't even have a head covering. She had been enjoying her hair too much on the night of the party to cover it up. "Are you just going to sit there like an idiot?" Asif yelled. He had to yell loudly to make his voice heard over Hassan's screeching. She sat with her back to them for a while longer, then got to her feet. She went back up to the others, lifted Hassan, helped Asif stand up, and gently nudged Layla. "Let's go," she said. The children started walking again because there was nothing else to do. Toward the middle of the afternoon, Asif let out a shout. "There's a stream!" Parvana looked where he was pointing. He was right. It wasn't much of a stream, but at least it was wet. "We should boil it first," Parvana said, but Asif and Layla were already scooping water into their mouths. Parvana realized she was being a fool. There was no way they could boil water. If they got sick, they got sick. It was better than dying of thirst. She made a cup with her hands and drank deeply. The water was muddy, but that didn't matter. She scooped up water for Hassan to drink too. She started to undress the baby. "What are you doing?" Asif asked. "I'm going to wash him and wash his clothes. In case you haven't noticed, he stinks." "I thought that was you." Parvana snatched the blanket shawl from Asif's shoulders. "To keep the baby warm," she said. For a moment she hoped Hassan would wet the blanket. It would serve Asif right, but quickly changed her mind when she remembered that they all had to sleep under that blanket. They stayed by the stream for the rest of the day, drinking water whenever their bellies felt empty again. "Hassan's clothes aren't dry," Layla said as night fell. "We can't dress him in wet clothes. He'll catch cold. You should have waited until tomorrow to wash his clothes." Asif took off his shirt and wrapped it around the baby. Parvana could feel Asif shivering all night long. The next morning was chilly. Hassan had messed Asif's shirt, so Parvana had to wash it out. Asif kept the blanket around his shoulders while he waited for his shirt to dry, but it took too long in the cold air. He eventually put it back on while it was still wet. "You don't know where we are, do you?" Asif accused Parvana as his thin body cringed at the touch of the cold, wet cloth on his skin. "No, I don't," Parvana said, too tired to try to think up something reassuring. "Do you know where we're going?" "We're going to find food," Parvana replied. "Now you know as much as I do, and if you don't like it, you're free to go off on your own." "Don't think I won't do that," Asif grumbled. "Is there any food in your bag?" Layla asked. "No, of course not." "Why don't you check?" Layla suggested. "Maybe there's something in there you forgot." "I wouldn't forget about food. There's no food in my bag." "Then why don't you check?" Asif said. "If you don't check, it's because you're hiding something. You probably have all kinds of food in there that you're eating when we're asleep." Parvana let out a deep, annoyed breath and dumped the contents of her shoulder bag onto the ground so everyone could see. "Matches, notebook full of letters to my friend, pens, my mother's magazine, book." She touched each item as she identified it. No food. "What is that book?" Layla asked. Parvana picked up the small book with the paper cover. "It's in English," she said, pointing at the letters. "You know some English," Layla urged. "Tell us what it says." Parvana's English was not very good, and she had to concentrate, which was hard. Her brain had that sluggish feeling it always got when she was hungry. She sounded out the words the way her father had taught her, then translated them. "To kill a mockingbird," she said slowly. "What's a mockingbird?" Asif asked. Parvana didn't know. "It's like a chicken. This book is about killing chickens." "That's dumb," Asif said. "Why would anyone write a whole book about killing chickens?" "There are lots of ways to kill a pigeon," Layla said. "Maybe there are lots of ways to kill a chicken. Maybe it's a book that tells us the best way to kill a chicken. Or maybe it's about what to do with the chicken once it's been killed. You know, different ways to cook it." "I like it cooked over the fire best," Asif said. "Remember the chicken we stole?" he asked Parvana. "That was delicious." Parvana agreed. That had been a particularly good meal. "My mother used to make a stew with chicken. She made it for my birthday once, back when we lived in a whole house with lots of rooms. We had a party. Even Noria was nice that day." More out of habit than hope, Parvana quickly looked around in case her mother was coming. "Do you suppose the book tastes like chicken?" Layla asked. "No, I wouldn't think so," Parvana said. "It probably does," Asif said. "She's probably keeping it all for herself. She's mean like that." "Parvana's not mean," Layla insisted, which was the first nice thing she had said about Parvana since the bombing. "If that book was good to eat, she'd share it with us." "She's meaner than an old goat," Asif insisted. "Oh, here, see for yourselves." Parvana tore some pages out of the Mockingbird book and handed them out. "What about you?" Layla asked. "You must be hungry too." Parvana tore a page out for herself and one for Hassan, but Hassan was getting that floppy baby look again and wasn't interested. "What are we waiting for?" Parvana asked. She bit into the page, tearing a chunk off with her teeth. The others did the same. The book didn't taste like chicken. It didn't taste like anything, but it was something to chew on, and each child ate another page after they finished the first. "Where do we go from here?" Asif asked. "Someone else decide," Parvana said, stretching out on the ground. "I'm tired of being the leader." "If it doesn't matter where we go, why don't we follow the stream?" Layla suggested. "At least we'll have something to drink that way." Parvana sat up and looked at the girl with admiration. "At least one of us is thinking," she said. "I was going to suggest that," Asif insisted. The children looked up and down the stream. "There are some trees up this way," Asif said. "Maybe we'll find something to eat." It was good to have a plan, even a small one, so the children headed off again.